Good morning. The majority leader is going to lead us in prayer. Please bow with him.
Our Heavenly Father, we're grateful for this day. We're grateful for all the many blessings in it and the days before, and we know in your grace the days that come. We ask that you look over us today, that all that we do and say here will be in your honor and favorable in your sight. And it's in Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Thank you. Well, good morning. I would say it's good to see all y'all. I've seen some of you way too many times, so you may just go ahead and apologize to you now that your bill ain't gonna get out. Just get that out of the way. Okay, Chairman to the front, Mr. Maxwell. Short and quick.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I'm proud to say this is the first time I've been before the committee this year, Mr. Chairman. I'd like that to be noted.
It's been like a vacation, Howard.
Thank you, sir. I'm asking for House Bill 238. Now, on the blue sheet, don't be confused. It says Public School Employees Retirement System. I got whipped on that about a month ago. I would not be asking for that. This bill deals with firefighters. All we're asking for is a increase in their the sum that they pay in, the monthly dues from $15 to $25. I met with a bunch of them, and the guy says they want to keep their funds solvent. They don't mind chopping their own wood. They said they'll chop their wood and put it in there. So I'd ask for your favorable consideration for House Bill 238. A substitute for the previous bill. I also want to bring your attention to House Bill 398, a good consumer transaction bill dealing with personal care homes and assisted living. We're trying to protect. There's nowhere in the state, nowhere in the nation that assisted living is copyrighted, except we copyrighted that name in the state of Georgia last year on Senate Bill 178, and we got 2,203 businesses are going to have to change their name by May the 1st if we can't get this corrected. And I'm just bringing that to your attention. I'm not asking for it today, but just bringing it to your attention. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee.
Mr. Maxwell.
Yes, sir.
I can be assured under 238 that my wife and the rest of the PSEers, they're not mentioned anywhere, are they?
Absolutely not, sir. It is entirely firefighters' fund. That is all that's mentioned in that bill.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Hill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And today I won't even ask for the whole nutshell, so I'll be extremely quick here.
After yesterday, the nutshell got cracked.
What I'm asking for, Mr. Chairman, today is on page 2 under the modified structure rule towards the bottom, House Bill 495. And this simply streamlines the conveyance of state properties without losing the legislative oversight or control. And I look forward to your favorable consideration, unless there's any questions. And that is the entire nutshell.
Is this brought by state properties, Calvin?
Yes, sir.
Okay. No questions. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
My other dean on the other side. Mr. Wilkinson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I'm asking for a House Bill 473. It would allow counties and cities to add the option of fiscal year contracts. Right now, they're just limited to calendar year contracts.
Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Sims.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I bring to you House Bill 52, top of the page on page 1 under the modified open rule. Basically, this is the qualifications for Adjutant General. It does not affect the present Adjutant General or any of that staff. It doesn't affect the present governor on making the appointment. It's just from henceforth and forevermore, we would make those appointments to general officers. You don't promote corporals to sergeant major, and you don't promote captains to major general.
Any questions? Thank you. Mr. Rogers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I'm asking first page, modified structure, House Bill 461.
Modified open.
Modified open, excuse me. It's a dental carve-out for CMOs. Good bill. Don't have a physical note, but I got a mental note. $80 million is the mental note, Mr. Chairman.
That mental note's worked a lot in the last few years, hasn't it?
Well, we've done, this is our third go-round, so we have a little hope on this go-round, so.
Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Hawkins.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This morning I'm asking for HB 132. It's second bill on the modified structured rule. This bill does only one thing. It moves the Board of Pharmacy and Board of Dentistry from the Secretary of State's office to DCH. This bill does not grow government. With the help of the attorneys in the governor's office, it moves them as divisions and not agencies, thereby not creating more staff or cost. The medical board has gone on record to welcome them. They state that they will be willing to share investigators, staff, computers, legal services, copiers, computerized licensing and regulatory systems, clerical staff, office space with common reception area.
Questions? Thank you. Mr. Tanner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm here for House Bill 497. It's on page 2, third from the bottom. This is just streamlines the boat registration process. It's a department bill that I'm carrying for the Department of Natural Resources. I want to ask your favorable consideration.
How many bills have you had on the floor?
Today will be my second one, sir.
Second?
Yes,
okay.
sir.
How long have you been here?
A few weeks, but just keep in mind that it's good legislation. This one is a department bill that I'm doing for DNR.
Yes, we got questions here. Mr. Hamilton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Is it not true that a delegation member of yours told me last night that even though this is a good bill, since you've already passed 2 bills, they thought it could wait till next session?
I could never imagine that a delegation member of mine would make such a comment about good legislation or hold up good legislation just because of the author.
Mr. Tanner, we figured out you're pretty quick on your feet already, so.
Thank you, sir.
Bye. Mr. Caldwell.
Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, this is House Bill 407. It's in the middle of the second page under the modified structure rule. I'm actually the sacrificial lamb for Chairman Powell over here. What this bill does is that it brings us into compliance with the Federal Transportation Act that was amended this past year. If we don't come into compliance, we stand to basically lose $25 million. This bill is being also recommended by the Governor's Office of Highway Safety and the Department of Driver Services. All we're doing is changing time limits. Most of ours have 6 and 8 months, and we're required by the Federal Transportation Act to move to 12 months, and that's all this bill does under the substitute that was sent out by Judiciary and Non-Civil.
Questions? Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Barr.
Mr. Chairman, thank you, sir. I've been here for 29 days. This is my first bill. Second page, 490, top of the page. This bill does 2 things. It makes 2 categories of librarians, certified and non-certified, and changes the mandate from 17.5 for the insurance to kick in to 30.
Anybody got questions? Questions of Mr. Barr? Yes, sir. Ms. Hughley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Are we going to save money? How much money are we saving by doing this?
Yes, ma'am. Currently, right now, there is when the law changed to 17 and a half hours, 99% of your libraries cut all their employees to 17 and a half hours. So it's a continuity in work for the libraries, and it does save the counties money that carried a few over for that amount of time.
Mr. Lindsay.
I just would like to point out to the author that my first bill went down on day 30 in 2005.
Thank you for the encouragement, sir.
Well, if it doesn't get on the floor, it don't go down. You want to keep your record right, Mr. Barr?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Ms. Ballinger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I'm here on behalf of HB 480. It's on the first page at the very bottom. Basically, it allows victim advocates to remain in the courtroom when somebody under the age of 16 is testifying about a sex offense.
Questions? Good bill. Thank you. Mr. Bruce.
Good morning again. And I'm here to ask for House Bill 150. It's the fifth item down on page 1. And again, we're trying to stop the extortion of our citizens by these mugshot companies that download information from public sites and then charge people to take it off. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Buckner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First page, number 7, House Bill 189. This is the bill that would require the Department of Natural Resources to notify governing authorities before closing state parks or historic sites. This bill is supported by ACCG and GMA and would help maintain the economy, particularly in rural areas of our state.
Thank you. Mr. Atwood.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen of the committee, this is House Bill 458. It's fourth from the bottom on page 1. What this bill does is it simply increases the deductible cap for condominium association insurance policies from $2,500 to $5,000. That is all. In the current marketplace, it's virtually impossible for a condominium association to obtain an insurance policy with a $2,500 deductible, and these policies often begin around $10,000 or higher, and accordingly, at the time of a loss, the association is forced to pay any deductible amount above $2,500 out of its operating budget, and this forces every member then of the condominium association to share the cost of the individual unit. So this is a cheaper way to buy insurance and protects all the members.
Questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Nat, Daddy Nat.
Long night last night, Mr. Chairman.
How's Mama and that baby?
Doing pretty good. Okay. Doing pretty good. Mr. Chairman, I'll ask the members to look at House Bill 399. It is the very last bill on the very last page. 399 is really a simple bill. And what it does is it takes an undefined term, that term being possessory, that is sitting in the aviation code, in which some local governments have misinterpreted and have now misinterpreted to give them authority to tax what here has stood as a non-taxable interest. And that's exactly what this bill does. It takes that term out that is being misconstrued to give someone the authority to tax otherwise a non-taxable interest on real property, ad valorem taxes. It's good policy. We have a very strong 48.5 is our ad valorem tax code section, and if things need to be done, they need to be done in that section. We don't need to have undefined terms around the code section in Georgia giving people the authority or to tax just by those terms. So that's it.
Mr. O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. Knight. Is the the tax imposed upon a tenancy known as a usufruct in the law?
Yes, sir.
And is that unprecedented anywhere else that we know of?
Yes, sir. If you look in, I think it's 40, I want to say it's 4471. That usufruct's great pronunciation. It took me a while to get that one down. But a usufruct is almost like a license. It's where somebody does not have a estate for years or an interest in the property. They simply have the right to enjoy the property and the fruits from it, but they do not get any possession of the property. You are correct, and that is well defined in Georgia code. And not only is it defined, it says it is not subject to levy in that code section.
Yes.
One follow-up question. I'm curious, how do they purport to value it? I know it doesn't impact leasehold improvements. That's still taxable for ad valorem purposes. That's not what you're trying to do away with here. How do they value the intangible aspect of a usufructory interest? Do you know, have any idea?
Mr. Leader, that's a great question. We heard in testimony that somehow they're going back to either the income that they were making or the value of this lease. They were trying to put some kind of value based on, I think, an income approach to this property that they were, or the space that they were being allowed to use. And so I'm not even sure that is a correct valuation method.
Mr. Roberts.
Mr. Chairman, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm just trying to follow here. Would an example maybe be like life estate?
No, sir. No, sir. No, sir. That is actually that's an estate for years. You have possession, you have rights to it. A usufruct is an old term that's used, and it basically means you get the use of property and maybe the fruits off it, but no interest bears to you. Okay, and usually under Georgia code, it's got to be for a term of less than 5 years. In the case that we're talking about, like a concessionaire.
I could really fix that word. We're so glad to learn a new word today. We can't stand it. Whatever. You have to be careful how you pronounce that thing if you look
yes,
and
sir.
see how it's spelled.
It got me in trouble the first couple of times I tried to say that.
Okay. Any other questions?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee.
Mr. Coomer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm here to ask for House Bill 372 on page 2 under modified structured, the Hope Grant change. It is not a usufructing bill. No one will be engaged in any usufructing. It is a reversion back to the 2.0 GPA requirement we had in 2011.
Questions? Thank you. Mr. Welch.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative Peake would inform me that Mr. Wilkerson has already asked for HB 473, so I won't ask for that again. However, I would like to draw your attention to House Bill 494 on page 2 at the bottom. And this bill will level the playing field between private property owners' rights to operate a private airstrip, and also add the requirement of safety markers being placed on the utility lines that are located nearby. The cost of installation of these safety markers, those large orange balls, will be borne by the property owner requesting them. Excuse me, I just ran up, so I'm trying to catch my breath. The cost of the installation of the safety markers will be borne by the property owner requesting that they be installed, not on the utility. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Any questions? Thank you. I guess we're done. No, we're not. Okay. Mr. Cassis.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah, I'm gonna get you and Miss Sims together and get y'all where y'all can talk to me a little bit louder. My ears are old. There's Miss Sims now. Mr. Rice.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm just going to ask for House Bill 104, which is the first one under modified structure on the second page. That's just that annual license plate bill, but I know that the Appalachian Trail people and the Atlanta Braves would love to have that one go.
Ms. Sheldon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to ask again for HR 107, page 2, modified open, the Joint House and Senate Study Committee, and also support HB 240, page 2, open, modified structured, anyway, House Bill 240, and then also House Bill 494, page 2, modified structure.
You can't hear that? She's the first one I've been able to hear. I didn't listen to the others, so it don't matter. Ms. Cooper, wait a second, I've got the majority leader. Ms. Cooper.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Can't hear Ms. Cooper.
Speak up.
We're going. You're good, but
okay.
All right.
I've got such a cold, I don't know whether I can't hear. On page 240, which is the one that would allow the each pathologist, where they're paid in one situation but not paid in the other, they would be paid in both situations. And on the first page, House Bill 398, that makes levels of assisted living facilities. Put my name by them, thank you.
Mr. Willard.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have two bills. The first one on your first sheet is House Bill 41. This bill within the Service Labor Strategy Agreements has been narrowed down through governmental affairs to apply only to the cities that were created after 2000. And there's the 7 cities. It actually comes down to really one city and its relationship with the city of Atlanta. That's Sandy Springs. And a battle we're having regarding they won't enter into an agreement which is required by the state constitution of B1. The other bill we have is House Bill 78 under crimes and offenses. This is dealing with the enhanced criminal liability of those who have disabled persons and elderly under their care. To be sure that there is laws protecting these individuals, the expectation is the deterrent of this crime will stop people from abusing elderly and disabled as far as their physical abuse, financial abuse is a big issue too. So
Was there any, let's go back to 41.
Yes, sir.
Was there any amendments put on that thing?
Yes, sir.
What did that amendment do?
The amendments really narrowed it down to be just those jurisdictions that were created after January 1, 2000. That applies only to the new cities, which would be the cities in North Fulton and North DeKalb.
Okay.
It does not apply to anyone else.
Mr. Setzler.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to ask for HB 150, Representative Bruce. There's a real issue in our communities about folks who are acquitted of crimes or whose cases are not even brought to trial. Their personal reputation staying out on the internet. 150 would address that.
Mr. Stevens.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move, ask for House Bill 318. Both issues of constitutionality that was questioned was removed, and it's back to committee. Also, Mr. Chairman, on your yellow sheet, House Bill, if I may, House Bill 402 didn't quite make it. That's a Department of Natural Resource bill that allows for temporary permits for filming on our coastal Georgia.
We're going, Mr. Stevens, that's fine on that one, but we're going to stay on this blue sheet. We'll get the yellow one tomorrow. Mr. Hamilton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I asked for House Bill 282 on page 2, modified structure of the Broadband Investment Act. And on that same page, I'd like to put my name by House Bill 34. And then finally on page 3, I'd like to put my name on the very last bill, House Bill 399. That really, we hope to get that addressed this year. Thank you very much.
Mr. Smyrie.
Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to add my name to 150. Would like to see us take that up. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Ramsey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm again asking for House Bill 487, a bill dealing with the regulation of Class B adult redemption games. And also, Chairman Benton had to go meet with a local group, and he asked me to again request House Bill 69 under structured and House Bill 211 under structured, one dealing with tax sales and the other dealing with the tax treatment of motor fuels used by school buses, by school systems.
Mr. Green.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As a co-signer with Representative Calvin Hill, I'd like to ask for House Bill 495 that State Properties is asking for.
Mr. Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Under modified structure, House Bill 486, it's the same bill that we talked about yesterday that we passed out to try to help solve some issues with emergency towers. But I'd also like to, under modified open, put my name beside HB 150, and under modified structure, third from the bottom, House Bill 497.
Mr. Parrish.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On page 2, modified structured, House Bill 132, it was explained it just moves the Board of Pharmacy and Dentistry is attached to the Department of Community Health, 132.
What was that one? 132. Mr. Chanel. Mr. Peake.
Thank you, Mr. Last page, HB 272. This is the renewal of the annual investor tax credit, which we've seen a lot of success. It renews it for another 2 years. I'd also like to ask for HB 497 on the second page, the Georgia Voter Safety Act, Representative Tanner's bill. Important agency, we move that forward if we can.
The minority leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to ask on page 1 for HB 150, the mugshot bill, and HB 189, the rural tourism bill, and then on page 2, under modified structure, HR 73.
Ms. Hughley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I didn't want you to miss me this morning. I want to ask again for HR 73, compensation for Latham work.
Ms. Sims. No, yeah, you're.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to put my name by House Bill 240, the Medicaid peach.
Hey. If you'd get here on time, I'd recognize you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate you recognizing me, and if I could get my judiciary chairman just to move things along. If he moved anything along faster, I don't know how I'd keep up. But
you're rambling. Let's go.
I'd ask for House Bill 434, and also I was looking on the yellow pages.
I'd said no yellow pages.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
We're so glad that you could get here. Mr. Powell. Yeah. Yeah, but we're going to wait on mine until tomorrow. Ladies and gentlemen, we will meet again tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. Have a nice day.